another History Gems. This time round, how did the church get so rich? Well, when I say church, of course we have to look at the Catholic Church, because that really was the foundation of Christianity in Western Europe. And undeniably, you go to something like the Vatican and you're going to be blown away by the sheer quantity of gold and statues and apparent wealth. It is a palace in all but name. However, it wasn't always like that, so what changed? If there's one man who's associated with the increase of the power of Christianity, his name is not Jesus, his name is Constantine the Great, the Roman emperor who made the Roman Empire a Christian empire. And ultimately all those pagan practices of giving money, donations, basically keeping the gods happy with cash, moved over to Christianity. Donations was one way of generating cash, but over a period of time, this idea that by giving specific monetary values to certain sins meant that anybody stood a better chance of getting to heaven if they had enough cash. At which point churches, in essence, became prayer factories, producing huge amounts of indulgences and guarantees to get to heaven, creating situations where you've got the Castle Sant'Angelo, which at one point had 2 million gold coins sitting in it. You may scoff at the idea of, that's ridiculous, I give money and I get to go to heaven. But that idea in your head is a specific response against the selling of papal indulgences. It did take 1,000 years for human beings to catch on that this is clearly a bit of a trick, and that's why it doesn't even happen in the Catholic Church anymore. Constantine's momentous decision to make the Roman Empire Christian led to not only donations, but large tracts of land being given to the papacy. This led to the creation ultimately of the Papal States in central Italy. However, across Europe there were holdings under abbeys and churches. So now the popes were in essence princes, amongst other princes and kings in Europe. And they had to defend this, which led to the creation of armies, and they had to show their wealth off, which led to the creation of the Vatican. Saying that, though, the indulgences were also important to get ready cash in and build beautiful places like St. Peter's. It was the redesign of St. Peter's in the 16th century that led to Martin Luther King, who, don't forget, was originally a Catholic priest, to say that ultimately these indulgences clearly weren't what the church was originally set up to do. So, no new St. Peter's, no Protestant Reformation. And then, what evolved was slightly more fun indulgences. According to the sign, you kiss the cross and you'll have a year and a day of indulgence. In other words, your sins will be forgiven for a year and a day, all for a kiss. The 3 largest churches in the world are the Catholic Church, the Orthodox Church, and the Anglican Church, and none of those use indulgences anymore, and they don't even use the really old way of generating money, tithes. A tithe is where you, as a churchgoer, should give 10% of your salary, or worth, to the church every year. And why not? You're part of that community. The church needs to be rebuilt or maintained, and indeed that money could go to help sick people, poor people, hungry people. So it's not actually a bad idea. However, the tithe system does exist in a number of countries, most particularly North America. And if you've got a congregation of 1,000, those 10% certainly add up. And you could have yourself a very nice house and a BMW. But I'm not saying that everybody does that. But the temptation's there, and history has shown how this money can be used sometimes for rather unchristian gains. And with that thought, I'll leave it with you to ponder about money and religion. As always, you can follow at History Gems on Twitter and on Facebook, where there are regular updates, and hopefully we'll see you on the internet.